The ceiling was too white. That was the first thing Aaron Redley thought when he opened his eyes. There was a faint hum in the background, like a refrigerator that never stopped running. The air smelled sterile, clean, but with an odd tang like metal and pine needles. He tried to sit up. Pain lanced through his side and his vision blurred. "Do not move," a voice said from somewhere to his left. It was not a human voice. It was too smooth, almost synthetic, but not robotic. It had an odd, lilting rhythm, like someone trying to speak English using a musical scale instead of tone. Aaron turned his head slightly. The figure standing beside him was tall, draped in a teal uniform, vaguely humanoid in shape but with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Its eyes were large and dark, but not unsettling. "I am Yell," it said, medical attendant aboard the Taris 9 vessel. "You are currently stable but have sustained multiple injuries. Do you comprehend?" Aaron licked his cracked lips. "Yeah, I get it." Yell raised a hand, a scanner glowing softly in its palm. "You were recovered from a crashed human explorer pod near Sector 4 Delta." "Do you recall the incident?" "I remember the landing was rough," Aaron muttered. "Didn't think it was that bad. You have 3 fractured ribs, a dislocated shoulder, and a torn ligament in your left ankle." Aaron winced. "Okay. Maybe it was that bad." Yell's eyes blinked sideways like a curtain closing. "You are currently not on any pain-reducing medication. This is not compliant with standard recovery protocol." "Yeah," Aaron replied, voice tight. "Don't give me any." Yell tilted its head. "Explain." "I need to feel if anything gets worse," Aaron said. "If something internal's bleeding or going wrong, I want to know the moment it happens." There was a pause. Yell blinked again. "Human tolerance to pain is documented as variable. But voluntary rejection of medication is uncommon." Aaron gave a small, humorless laugh. "You ever been in a crash before?" "I have not." "Then trust me, pain's your warning system. I'd rather deal with it than get blindsided." Yell hesitated, then pressed the scanner to Aaron's ribs. A soft chime sounded. "Nothing appears to be worsening at this time." "Then I'm good." "You are not." Aaron closed his eyes. "Didn't say I was comfortable, just said I'm good." The next few hours passed slowly. Yell remained beside him, checking vitals and occasionally asking questions about human biology, all of which Aaron answered between shallow breaths and clenched teeth. The pain was a constant throb, especially in his ribs. Every breath was an effort not to groan. At one point, a low alarm echoed through the infirmary. Yell turned toward a wall panel that flickered red. "There is a containment breach in Deck 8. I must attend. Do not attempt to move." Aaron nodded, careful not to move his torso, not planning to. The door hissed shut behind Yell. The silence that followed was deep and unnerving. 10 minutes passed. Then 20, the lights flickered. Aaron opened one eye. "That's not great." A groan echoed from beyond the wall. Something heavy slammed against metal. He forced himself upright, biting back a cry as his ribs protested. His left arm was in a sling and his ankle was wrapped tightly. No crutches, no wheelchair, damn it. Another groan, closer. Aaron slid off the bed, grabbing the metal rail for balance. His vision swam. He waited until the dizziness passed, then limped to the wall panel. It displayed the ship's layout, though most of it was in alien script. He pressed a few buttons at random. One of them blinked green. A camera feed appeared. A hallway. Lights flickering. And a creature hulking, dark-skinned, with segmented arms and a gaping maw was dragging something. A body. A crew member? Aaron's heart hammered. He turned, searching the room. There against the far wall was a metal cabinet. He limped over, yanked it open. Inside were basic supplies, bandages. A stun tool, a compact flare. He took the stun tool. It felt like holding a flashlight, but heavier. He made it to the door and tapped the panel. It hissed open. The hallway was dim. Shadows danced across the floor. The groaning had stopped, replaced by the distant clatter of something dragging. Aaron moved slowly, gripping the wall for support. His shoulder ached, and every step on his ankle felt like walking on broken glass. He followed the trail, dark smears on the floor. He rounded a corner and froze. The The creature was there, hunched over the crew member who was barely conscious. It turned toward Aaron, rising to its full height. It let out a low, rumbling growl. Aaron raised the stun tool. "Back off." The creature stepped forward. He fired. The stun tool emitted a burst of blue light. The creature convulsed, then collapsed. Aaron limped over to the crew member, another alien but different from Yell. This one had pale skin and smaller eyes. "You okay?" Aaron asked. The alien blinked slowly. "Minimal damage. Grateful." Aaron offered a hand. "Can you move?" The alien took it and stood shakily. "I am Leth, survey technician." "Cool," Aaron said, wincing. "Let's get back to the infirmary before more of those things show up." By the time they got there, Yell had returned with 2 security officers. The creature Aaron stunned had been restrained and was being contained in a reinforced pod. Yell turned to Aaron. "You disobeyed medical instruction." Aaron leaned heavily against the wall. "Didn't have much of a choice. You are further injured." "Yeah," he admitted. "Fell once, maybe cracked another rib." Yell scanned him. "You did?" "Figured. You still refuse analgesics." Aaron gave a weary nod. "Need to feel if anything gets worse." Yell made a low noise, some kind of exhale. "Your logic is inefficient but consistent." "I'll take that as a compliment." For the next several days, Aaron remained in the infirmary. Yell adjusted his treatment plan to accommodate the additional injury. The new rib fracture extended his recovery time by nearly a week. Despite the pain, Aaron remained alert, often discussing emergency protocols with Leth and Yell. He learned that the creature was part of an experimental lifeform study that had gone wrong. A containment failure had allowed it to escape. Aaron wasn't the only one injured, but he was the only one who insisted on refusing painkillers. One evening, as Yell adjusted the monitors, he looked over at Aaron. "I have studied your rationale. Your insistence on experiencing pain as an early detection method is not unfounded. However, human tolerance varies. Are you certain it is not masking a deeper issue?" Aaron shifted slightly on the bed, wincing. "I was in Afghanistan. Got hit by a roadside bomb in my second tour. Lost 2 guys in my unit because they didn't know they were bleeding internally. By the time the meds wore off, it was too late. Since then, I'd rather feel it." Yell was silent for a moment. "That is a compelling origin." "You wanted realism," Aaron said with a dry smile. "There it is." Yell inclined his head. "You are recovering, slowly, but your vitals are stable, no sign of internal degradation." "That's good," Aaron said. "Because if something starts going wrong, I'll know." Recovery took 3 more weeks. Aaron was moved to a mobility assist room where he could begin walking exercises. Yell remained his primary caretaker, and though their conversations were often sparse, a mutual respect developed. One day, as Aaron completed a walking circuit around the medbay, he leaned against the wall and took a deep breath. Yell approached. "You no longer wince after each step, I noticed. You may be cleared for light activity within 72 hours. Aaron nodded. "Appreciate it?" Yell paused, then asked, "Do you intend to continue refusing medication if injured again?" "Yeah," Aaron said. "It's not about being tough, it's about being aware." Yell looked at him for a long moment. "Your species is unlike any I have treated," Aaron chuckled. "We're a mess. But we make it work." Yell turned to adjust the monitor. "A functional mess, then," Aaron smiled. "I'll take it." Outside the medbay window, the stars stretched on forever. The Taris 9 sailed quietly past a burning nebula, its crew slowly returning to routine. Somewhere in the distance, another containment door closed. Aaron leaned back against the wall, sore but whole. He felt everything. And that meant he was still alive. The artificial dusk cycle on the Taris 9 bathed the infirmary in a muted violet glow. Aaron lay half reclined on a narrow diagnostic couch, eyes open, watching the ceiling dim incrementally. He was no longer confined to bed rest, but mobility was still limited. His ankle bore weight now, though barely, and the shoulder brace had been replaced with a flexible support wrap. Across the room, Yell was affixing a new sensor strip to a tray of monitoring tools. each one clicking into place with tiny magnetic snaps. The room was quiet except for the faint purring of filtration fans and the occasionally abrupt chirp of alien tech recalibrating itself. "You've been quiet," Aaron said, shifting his leg slightly to ease the pressure on his hip. "Usually by now you've asked about kidney function or why we sweat when we're nervous." Yell didn't look up. "I am interpreting new data. Your recovery rate is inconsistent with projected models." Aaron exhaled through his nose. "Let me guess, I'm healing too fast." "That is correct. I drink a lot of milk." Yell finally turned, eyes steady. "You stated earlier that you had not consumed dairy in over 4 Earth years." "Right," Aaron said, rubbing his jaw. "Guess I'm just lucky." "Luck is not quantifiable. Explain the anomaly." Aaron shrugged with his good arm. "We don't really know how we bounce back the way we do. Some of it's biology, some of it's just stubbornness." Yell approached, holding a small square device with a protruding lens. "I have requested a full genome scan from your species' shared data archive." It returned with multiple flagged inconsistencies. "With me specifically?" "Yes," Aaron frowned. "And you're not going to tell me what those are you?" Yell's response was immediate. "I am not authorized to disclose flagged items until reviewed by a xenomedical ethics committee." Aaron leaned back again. "Right, committees, always so nimble in a crisis." The scanner hovered near his face, emitted a soft pulse, then dimmed. Yell returned to the console and tapped through readings. "Your cortisol levels are elevated, but your cardiac rhythm remains steady. There is no sign of adrenal fatigue, probably because I'm used to running on fumes." Yell's fingers paused. "That is not a sustainable physiological state. Tell that to every ER nurse back home." The console beeped twice. Yell narrowed its eyes, jaw tightening slightly. "Your immune response is overactive. It is engaging with no current infection present." "Well," Aaron said, flexing his fingers, "maybe it's just bored." Yell tilted its head. "Your humor continues to complicate assessment." "It's a diagnostic tool," Aaron replied. "If I stop cracking jokes, that's when you should worry." There was a pause. Yell tapped through several more screens, then stepped back. "You are stable. However, I must submit a report regarding your regenerative anomaly. It may require isolation for further study." Aaron's expression flattened. "I'm not a pathogen. We must ensure you are not a vector. I haven't even sneezed." Yell moved to a panel on the far wall, tapping in a code. A translucent privacy screen slid into place around Aaron's couch. He sat up straighter. "You're putting me in a bubble. This is a precautionary partition, not full quarantine." Aaron ran a hand through his hair. "Feels a lot like a quarantine. Your emotional response is noted." "You know what else you should note?" Aaron leaned forward, winced, then continued. "We don't always know why our bodies do what they do. Sometimes it's evolution, sometimes it's just a fluke. But locking us up the second something weird shows up, that's how you miss the important part." Yell turned, arms folded. "Which is that we adapt, even when it doesn't make sense. Especially then." The silence stretched. The privacy screen hummed faintly, the only sound between them. A soft knock echoed from the corridor entrance. Yell approached and keyed open the door. Leth stood there, carrying a narrow container with steam rising from one end. He looked different, less pale, more alert, but still moved with caution. "I was informed the human remains ambulatory," Leth said. "I have brought sustenance." Aaron blinked. "Is that food?" "It is a nutritional stew modified for cross-species tolerance," Leth said. "You expressed preference for strong flavors. I attempted to replicate." Yell stepped aside, allowing Leth to enter. The container was placed on a small stand beside Aaron's couch. Aaron leaned in and sniffed. "Smells like someone boiled a pine cone in chili powder." Leth's posture straightened. "Success." Aaron picked up the oddly shaped utensil and took a tentative bite. His eyes widened. "Hot," he said, fanning his mouth. "But not bad." Leth looked at Yell. "The human exhibits gustatory approval." Yell didn't respond. Instead, it moved back to the console, reviewing data again. Aaron took another bite more carefully this time. So, Leth, what's your background? You a chef or just a brave soul? I was trained in xenobotany. My knowledge of culinary chemistry is self-taught. I can't tell if that makes this more or less impressive. Leth's eyes shifted color faintly, a sign Aaron had learned indicated amusement. I chose spices with anti-inflammatory properties. Your tissues remain under strain. Aaron tapped the container with his spoon. That explains the burning sensation in my sinuses. Yell turned from the console. This interaction must be limited. The human is under observation. Aaron looked up. Yell, if you're worried I'm gonna mutate into something, I promise you it's already happened. It's called puberty. That is not an adequate medical defense. No, but it's a fact. Yell held Aaron's gaze for a few seconds longer than normal before returning to the panel. You will be scanned hourly. Any deviation in vitals will initiate a containment protocol. Aaron saluted with his spoon. Understood, Captain Containment. Leth tilted his head. Is that a rank? Only in my head. The next several hours passed in quiet tension. The privacy screen remained up, though Leth stayed on the other side, occasionally offering commentary about cultural misunderstandings he'd encountered while cataloging plant species. Aaron found the stories oddly soothing, something about a sentient root vegetable that refused to be harvested due to philosophical objections. At the third scan, Yell re-entered the partition with a new device, one that resembled a curved glass band. It was placed against the side of Aaron's head behind the ear. This will monitor neurochemical fluctuations in real time, Yell explained. Aaron squinted. You think I'm gonna start hallucinating? It is a possibility. If I do, I hope it's about cheeseburgers. Yell didn't respond. Later, near what Aaron guessed was the ship's equivalent of evening, Leth returned with another container. This time it smelled like burnt cinnamon and roasted seaweed. Aaron stared. You're trying to kill me, aren't you? It is a dessert, Leth said. Yell stepped in again, this time with a small tablet. New data has arrived from Earth Command. Your genome irregularities are consistent with high-impact trauma survivors. It appears your cellular repair mechanisms have been hyperactivated due to prior stressors. Aaron paused. So I'm not contagious, I'm just stubborn down to the molecular level. That is one interpretation. Does that mean I can lose the bubble? Yell considered. If no further anomalies present by next cycle, the partition may be removed. Aaron nodded slowly. Guess I'll try not to sneeze until then. Yell stepped back, tablet in hand. There is one more item. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Let me guess, I'm glowing in the dark now. No, Yell said, but your pain receptors are exhibiting delayed desensitization. You are still experiencing discomfort, Aaron nodded. Like someone sitting on my chest and whispering insults into my ankle. We expected your nociceptors to begin downregulating by now. Aaron exhaled. That's not how it works for everyone. Pain doesn't just vanish after the injury heals. Sometimes it lingers, sometimes it becomes a habit. Yell studied him. A habit, you brace for it, expect it. Even when it's gone, you feel like it's waiting around the corner. Yell said nothing. Leth set the dessert container down and adjusted the stand. Then the pain is not only sensory. It is anticipatory. Aaron looked at him. Exactly. Yell finally nodded. We will monitor your neurochemical rhythms overnight. If they remain stable, you will be released from observation. Aaron leaned back. Great. I'll try not to dream about root vegetables with opinions. Leth blinked slowly. They are extremely persuasive. Aaron closed his eyes, letting the soft hum of the ship fill the silence. He still felt everything, but now at least someone else did too. 3 days after the isolation screen had come down, Aaron was cleared to walk the upper observation loop. The corridor was wide, curved, and ringed with pressure-sealed windows that looked out over a rotating stretch of stars and planetary debris. His gait was uneven, but the limp had dulled to a manageable hitch. His shoulder brace had been removed entirely, replaced by a thick band of breathable support mesh that stretched like synthetic muscle. Yell accompanied him. not hovering but never far. The alien had switched uniforms now, a deeper shade of plum with subtle green threading along the sleeves, a designation Aaron hadn't deciphered yet. "You've changed departments?" Aaron asked, resting one hand on the cool window frame. "I have resumed dual roles," Yell replied. Rotational cycle requires medical attendants to re-enter broader crew functions after stabilization phases conclude. Aaron nodded slowly. "So you're back on the main roster." "Guess I'm officially not dying." "That has been the case for approximately 77 hours. I like hearing it out loud." They continued along the loop, passing a pair of short-statured crew members with translucent pouches in place of mouths. One bobbed its head at Aaron, who gave a palm-up wave in return. "Still not used to the silent greetings," he muttered. "Verbal communication is inefficient for many species on board," Yell said. "Yours is among the more redundant. We do enjoy repeating ourselves," Aaron said. "Sometimes with more volume for emphasis." Yell's eyes blinked in a slow vertical pattern. "That is not effective." "No, but it feels like doing something, which is half the battle." They stopped near a section of the corridor where the outer glass formed a domed alcove. The view stretched into the black beyond, a field of debris from a shattered moon slowly spiraling apart. One chunk rotated, catching a glint from the nearby star. Aaron leaned against the railing. "It's weird." "What is?" "Knowing something broke apart out there. And we're just drifting past it like it's a sightseeing stop." Yell adjusted a small device on its forearm. "The destruction was recorded 7 Earth decades ago. The region has been cleared of volatile fragments." "That's not what I meant." Aaron shifted his weight off his bad ankle. "It's just strange how fast the universe forgets something exploded." Yell remained quiet for several moments. "Your presence has altered several onboard assumptions," it said finally. Aaron glanced over. "Which ones?" "That your species' behavior is driven by chaos rather than pattern. That's not inaccurate, but also incomplete," Yell continued. "Your reactions follow a logic not initially apparent to us." Aaron let out a short laugh. "That's a nice way of saying we confuse you. You adapt irrationally in rational environments. That is difficult to model. I think the word you're looking for is improvisation." Yell nodded once. "Your refusal of pain suppression was categorized as behavioral defiance. It has now been reclassified as adaptive vigilance." "I like that better. Makes me sound like a superhero." Yell's fingers tapped the railing lightly. "You were injured, yet prioritized environmental awareness over symptomatic relief. That is not common." Aaron turned to face the alien fully. "And that's the part that sticks with you. There are other observations. Like, your body's repair mechanisms accelerated without artificial stimulation. That has been documented. You already ran the tests." "Yes, but there is a secondary element." Aaron tilted his head. "Go on." "Your neural patterns showed a consistent override of discomfort signals, not suppression, rerouting." Aaron blinked. "Are you saying I ignored the pain hard enough that my brain took a detour, essentially?" He let out a low whistle. "That's not how it's supposed to work." "No," Yell agreed, "but it did." Aaron rubbed the back of his neck. "I didn't think about it at the time. I just figured if I gave in to the pain, I'd start falling apart." Yell's head tilted slightly. "And if you fell apart, then no one was going to put me back together fast enough." They stood in silence for a moment, the stars beyond the dome shifting slowly. "I've been through worse," Aaron said, softer now, "but every time I tell myself it's survivable. Even if it isn't. That belief has physiological consequences. I know, but it's the only thing that gets me through." Yell's gaze lingered on him. "You are cleared for full debrief. The command unit has requested your input on response protocols." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "You want me to give a speech?" "They are compiling data on human crisis responses. You are the only involved party available." He stretched his recovering shoulder across his chest. "All right. Let's talk shop." 2 hours later, he was seated in a wide room shaped like a half-cylinder. its walls lined with projection panels flickering between data points and schematic overlays. 4 command officers, each from a different species, watched him with a mixture of curiosity and mild apprehension. Leth stood nearby, operating the recording interface. "I'm not a diplomat," Aaron said, scratching his jaw. "But I know what went wrong." "Proceed," one officer said through a translator buzzing just under the ceiling. "That containment failure, it wasn't just a systems glitch, it was a human oversight. I saw it the moment I reviewed the logs." He tapped one of the panels, bringing up a layout of the storage bay. There was a redundancy bypass programmed into the lockdown failsafe. "That's not a malfunction, that's someone cutting corners." The officers blinked in succession. "I've seen it before," Aaron continued. "Back home, people override safety systems to save time, usually works until it doesn't." "Then the error was procedural, not mechanical?" another asked. "Exactly. You can't plan for every emergency. But you can plan for the people who think emergencies won't happen to them." Leth input a statement tag onto the recording stream. Aaron watched the symbol flicker blue. "Your species' aversion to standard protocol is well documented," one officer said. Aaron leaned back. "It's not aversion. It's prioritization. We don't always follow the procedure because sometimes the procedure's slower than the threat. This tendency introduces risk," Yell added from the side. "Sure," Aaron said, "but it also means when something goes wrong, we don't freeze, we move. We improvise." The room was quiet for several seconds. "You're adapting your protocols now," Aaron said, "but no system's perfect. You need people who can bridge the gap when things break." One of the officers narrowed its eyes. "And your pain tolerance contributes to this?" Aaron hesitated, then nodded. "It's not about being tough, it's about staying conscious of what's happening even when it hurts." "Biological vigilance," Leth murmured, logging the phrase. When the debrief ended, Aaron stepped out into a lower corridor, rubbing his wrist absently. Yell followed at a measured pace. "Your observations will be added to the crisis manual," Yell said. "They are considered valuable." Aaron gave a short laugh. "I'll put that on my resume." Once quoted in an interstellar handbook on emergencies, "You have returned to humor. Only when I'm not bleeding." Yell paused, then said, "You are now fully cleared. Observation protocols concluded. You may resume standard interactions." Aaron raised both brows. "I'm officially boring again." "Safe," Yell clarified. "You are officially safe." They stepped into the lift pad, the soft platform rising toward the main deck without sound. Aaron folded his arms across his chest. "Thanks for sticking through it." "You didn't have to. You were my patient." "Yeah, but you listened. Most people just assume when someone turns down meds they're being difficult." Yell turned slightly. "You were not difficult, you were instructive." The lift opened onto a walkway flanked by rows of suspended garden tanks. Pale blue vines curled upward, glowing faintly. Aaron took a breath. "Feels good to walk without bracing for the next sharp jab." "Then the pain has subsided?" "No," he said, "but I've stopped fighting it. It's just information now, not an enemy." Yell nodded once. "That is an advanced adaptation." Aaron grinned. "Or maybe I'm just tired of limping." They crossed into the common atrium, where a few crew members drifted between conversation pods and nutrient dispensers. Leth waved a hand from one of the benches, holding 2 pale cups. Aaron raised his voice slightly. "Is one of those safe for humans?" Leth responded without words, simply pushing one cup toward an empty seat. Aaron turned to Yell. "You joining?" Yell hesitated. "My shift concludes in 3 minutes." "Then sit for 2." Yell considered, then approached the bench. As they sat, the overhead lights dimmed slightly, signaling the transition into rest cycle. Aaron lifted the cup, sniffed it cautiously, then took a sip. It tasted like warm almond and citrus rind. "Not terrible," he said. Leth looked pleased. "You are acclimating." Aaron leaned back, the seat humming faintly beneath him. "I'm adapting," he said. "That's what we do." And for the first time since the crash, the ache in his ribs didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a memory.